Trump wants to shut down the Department of Education. Here's what that could mean. If former President Donald Trump were to shut down the U.S. Department of Education, the impacts on the nation's education system could be significant, leading to changes across policy, funding, and educational equity. Here's a breakdown of what this move could mean. 1. Decentralization of education policy. Without the Federal Department of Education, authority over education would likely shift almost entirely to state and local governments. This could lead to greater variation in curricula, standards, and educational quality across states, as states would have more control over what and how subjects are taught. 2. Changes in federal funding and financial aid. The Department of Education administers federal funding, including Title I funding for low-income schools, special education funding, and Pell Grants for college students. If the department is dissolved, it's unclear who would manage these funds, or if they would be cut entirely. For students from low-income backgrounds and those with disabilities, a decrease in federal support could negatively affect access to quality education and resources. The Department of Education was established to ensure that all students, regardless of their socioeconomic status, have access to quality education. Over the years, it has played a crucial role in implementing various educational reforms and policies aimed at improving the educational landscape of the country. Changes in federal funding and financial aid are often hotly debated topics in Congress. Lawmakers discuss the allocation of resources, the effectiveness of current programs, and the potential impact of any changes on students and educational institutions. Educators and administrators often emphasize the importance of federal funding in providing necessary resources and support to schools, especially those in underserved communities. They argue that without this funding, many schools would struggle to meet the needs of their students. Federal funding also supports a wide range of programs beyond the classroom, including extracurricular activities, technology integration, and professional development for teachers. These programs are essential for creating a well-rounded educational experience for students. Financial aid workshops and resources, such as the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, FAFSA, are critical in helping students and their families navigate the complexities of funding higher education. These resources ensure that students have the financial support they need to pursue their academic goals. Community advocacy plays a significant role in shaping education policy. Parents, students, and educators often come together to voice their concerns and advocate for continued or increased funding for education. Their efforts can influence policymakers and bring about positive changes in the education system. Ultimately, the goal of federal funding and financial aid is to ensure that every student has the opportunity to succeed regardless of their background. By providing the necessary resources and support, we can help all students achieve their full potential and celebrate their academic achievements. 3. Impact on students with disabilities and vulnerable populations. Students with disabilities face unique challenges in the educational system, and it is crucial to address their needs comprehensively. The department enforces protections for students with disabilities under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, also known as IDEA, which ensures that all children with disabilities have access to a free, appropriate public education that is tailored to their individual needs. Additionally, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act prohibits discrimination based on disability in programs and activities that receive federal financial assistance. These laws are vital in creating an inclusive environment where students with disabilities can thrive. Without these federal protections, states might be less consistent in supporting special education needs, potentially leading to reduced services or inequitable treatment for students with disabilities. This could result in significant disparities in educational outcomes and opportunities. It is essential to recognize the importance of these protections in ensuring that students with disabilities receive the support they need to succeed academically and socially. Parents, educators, and policymakers must work together to uphold these standards and advocate for continuous improvement in special education services. By fostering an inclusive and supportive educational environment, we can help students with disabilities reach their full potential and contribute meaningfully to society. This not only benefits the students themselves, but also enriches the entire educational community. In conclusion, the impact on students with disabilities and vulnerable populations is profound. Ensuring that these students have access to the necessary resources and support is a critical step towards achieving educational equity and fostering a more inclusive society for all. Potential reduction in standardized accountability. The Department of Education's initiatives, like those under the Every Student Succeeds Act, set national standards and accountability measures to improve school performance, especially for underserved communities. Without federal oversight, states may relax accountability measures, potentially widening achievement gaps based on geography and socioeconomic status. Challenges for higher education, access and affordability. The federal government is a primary source of financial aid for college students, distributing grants, loans, and loan forgiveness programs. These financial aids are crucial for many students who otherwise would not be able to afford the high costs of tuition, books, and living expenses. The process of applying for financial aid can be complex and time-consuming, but it is a necessary step for many to achieve their educational goals. A shutdown could lead to significant disruptions in financial aid administration, making higher education less accessible and affordable for many students. This could result in students being unable to pay their tuition on time, leading to delays in their education or even dropping out. The uncertainty and stress caused by financial instability can have a profound impact on students' academic performance and mental health. If states assume responsibility, regional discrepancies in aid could further affect college access. Different states have varying levels of resources and commitment to higher education funding, which could lead to unequal opportunities for students depending on where they live. This could exacerbate existing inequalities and make it even more challenging for students from underprivileged backgrounds to pursue higher education. Ensuring equitable access to affordable higher education is a complex issue that requires coordinated efforts at both the federal and state levels. Possible increase in school choice initiatives. Trump's administration previously supported school choice measures like charter schools and voucher programs that allow public funding to follow students to schools outside the public school system. Without the Department of Education, this philosophy might expand, though critics argue this could weaken traditional public schools and exacerbate inequalities. Shift in civil rights enforcement. The department also plays a role in investigating civil rights violations in schools, covering issues like racial discrimination and gender-based harassment. Shutting down the department could leave enforcement of these protections to individual states, raising concerns about inconsistent support for students' rights across the country. Uncertainty for educators and school administrators. Educators rely on federal grants for various programs, professional development, and resources. Without a federal agency to manage these funds, teachers and administrators could lose access to crucial training programs, research-based resources, and instructional support, potentially impacting teacher quality and student outcomes. Shutting down the Department of Education would represent a major shift in the U.S. education system, possibly creating uneven educational standards and access across states. Although some advocates argue that a state-centered approach could foster innovation and local control, critics caution that it may exacerbate existing inequalities, affect vulnerable populations, and create challenges for students and educators alike.